Previously on
odd-shaped panel. Who is your favorite X-Men from the animated series?
You want the morph story.
Yeah,
He's got the morph story. And if you go through with a sharp eye, you can see all kinds of Easter eggs.
Our friend Delisha, at Delisha_Renee, asks, what character do you think had the best story arc?
Now I'm going to jump in if we're talking just over the course of a season.
Or just within the series.
Or within the course of the series. I'll go with, and this is an easy answer, this is easy because it's quick, but it may not be the best one, but Beast in the first season, because he was not supposed to be a main character in the X-Men team, but Eric and the rest of the writers, this is a good character. So rather than kind of, well, okay, we got to write him off because all the higher-ups are saying we need to do that. No, if we can remove him from the show centrally and have a good excuse for that, and bring him back around, he became this, to me, brilliant civil disobedience figure. And I thought it turned out to be so beautifully played out. And in the course of visiting with him and going to meet him, and folks visiting him in jail, learning more about him and hearing from him, and an actual dialogue about why he felt he needed to be where he was and remain where he was until he had his day in court.
Paraphrase the bard, I am a mutant. Hath not a mutant senses, affections, fed with the same food, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a human is? If you prick us, do we not bleed?
Don't tempt these people, Mr. McCoy.
That's kind of cool.
He was very much like a Nelson Mandela or a Gandhi figure, and I even love the fact that the arc opens with him reading Animal Farm. As a child, I would have no idea. Back, I'm like, oh my God, that's so relevant.
Yeah, well, we tried to, we were all adults in our 30s, and we were all trying to have fun. And that's one way you keep the energy up, is to say, well, what kind of cool little things can you do to delight yourself and delight your friends? And when I was younger, when I was a kid, I liked watching really older, sophisticated stuff. I mean, there's stuff in Warner Brothers cartoons and other cartoons that just you don't get until you're an adult. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the people making them are having so much fun that it just bursts through. And we tried to do that with Beast, and all the little references and the obscure literary references were just something I decided to do the first episode, because he didn't have a call to action. The X-Men didn't have a call to action. I thought, well, maybe Beast quotes an obscure poet. How weird would that be? And it took, and all the writers liked the idea. So they all tried to come up with situations where it would be reasonable for him to quote somebody. So yeah, that just kind of grew as the series went on the arc. I'm not sure. Most of the characters stayed fairly much the same for me over the series. Jubilee kind of has the biggest arc, because she starts out having no clue what this whole world's about, and by episode 13 she's earned her way onto the team. And so she really grows up more and changes more than just about anybody.
Cut the volume down, will ya?
I think we both have the same answer.
Yeah.
It's definitely Jean Grey for us. To see, because compared to the other characters at first glance, I don't feel like Jean Grey had that much going on. At first she felt like one of the blander characters.
She's powerful.
Oh, she's definitely powerful, but next to Xavier, it's almost but then you realize why she's there, and she breaks my heart with Wolverine. We were talking about it before, but
I'm a diehard Wolverine and Jean Grey shipper, and that's a painful place to live,
Yeah.
But yeah, and the whole Dark Phoenix saga and everything it's just so good.
That's one of the things that translated the best to the X-Men films, though, was that whole dynamic between Cyclops and Wolverine over Jean.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, but I don't think they did it that much in the books before the series. They did hinted at it a little bit, but it was a natural for us to have that romantic triangle and push it as hard as we could, because it let since it was a show for kids, we can't show what you can show in an R-rated movie, so you had to make the emotions more intense, and we just grabbed that every chance we got.
It worked, and then but just to see her to turn from that into this threat, like I never expected her to be the big bad.
To protect the crystal, she inhabited the body of Jean Grey.
Which it was almost like I mistrusted you guys for a second because I'm like, she was supposed to be one of the good guys. What happened? I'm 8. Like, so it was cool to be exposed to that like sort of storytelling so early. And I was thinking about the other day, like I don't think I've heard a collection of so many accents in a show before. Your show, which was really interesting when I was a kid, because otherwise when would I hear a German accent unless I ran into a German?
For me, the best story arc probably goes, and they're my least favorite characters on the show, but it's Scott and Jean. Everything involving Mr. Sinister and their whole situation with, because they are involved in some major arcs in the story, but overall you could argue that it's their story arc together. Like the way their relationship endures with all the situation of the Phoenix saga and Sinister screwing with their lives, and Cable. Jean probably knows who Cable is, but she just like, God, I hate those characters so much.
I wish everyone could be as happy as I am.
Because yes, Jean would have been better off with Logan because he actually gives a crap about her and not his job. And Scott is way too obsessed with his own self. But all in all, because of the level of impact that their relationship has on like everything that happens, is such a big deal to me.
I don't know if it's the show is evolved around Scott and Jean, or is it that everything is Scott and Jean's fault?
I would say a little from column A and a little from column B.
I was gonna say I like you got, just like you said, the Jean Grey one, because like who doesn't like the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix sagas? That was great. They tied a lot into that. Like didn't they even have like Scott's family in that with Corsair, right? In that saga, I'm pretty sure. So like tied a lot. But I also I love the Apocalypse saga too, like with the 4 Horsemen and stuff. So those two like are tied for in my eyes. So I like both of them.
I think my favorite arc is the where Rogue is having to deal with, like, I have this opportunity to like lose my power so that I can connect with people on a human level, and then when she decides that like no, like this is who I am, I don't, even though it hurts her to not be able to connect that way, and for the greater good ultimately.
Yeah. And
I love it when they're in the Savage Lands, and because it's a kid's show, they couldn't make this happen, but it's like, you don't have your powers right now. This is like the perfect opportunity for you to go kiss.
We were joking
Gambit.
about like Gambit and Rogue are like, wait, what? We don't have our powers? They just like run into the jet and close the door.
Come up to the rec room in 5 minutes and I'll show you.
This was another tough one because they all have really good arcs, but I have been praising him on Twitter. Eric Monroe also loves him the most. That would be Morph. Morph! Damn you, Morph.
It's really interesting to hear their take on Morph and how he came to be.
Yeah, and the dude's voice his laugh is very annoying, And I remember he just made that making copies joke, which I'm like, did he just steal a Rob Schneider joke? But, he actually did serve a purpose, and he's also a tragic character through the series.
Big hero, you never listen. I have to get through this by myself! Morph?
Now this is where I need some member berries because I can't really remember a lot from. I remember I used to watch this on Cheese TV, which is our sort of morning kids cartoon type show in Australia back when I was a kid. So I don't remember a lot of the one that really sticks out, and I brought this up on I think my first episode of Fan Friction, where I think I was fighting against the lovely Kimber, was the Wolverine one, where they go into how he got the adamantium and yeah.
Logan, can you hear me? I shall take that as a yes.
Of course, I'm going to have to go with Cable. I found everything that happened with him to be really on par with the books that I already read about Cable, so I enjoyed the voice acting most of all. Well, almost everyone on the show had a really good voice actor, save for maybe the Morlocks and Sabretooth. I didn't enjoy the voice acting. But aside from those, I enjoyed everyone.
Yeah,
Oh, hey,
they
Kimber.
had a talented cast, and it was cool to. Do you mind? Thank you. It was really cool to have like what? Have them pull from theater. I'm getting it from both sides. Have them pull from theater actors in the surrounding area, because initially they had like a bunch of like kids set up to like do like Cyclops stuff like that, but it sounded really like kids boppy. So they went and outreach. Our producer Jack was wondering if you liked how the X-Men characters were portrayed in the films.
I'm going to jump in again. I seem to be leading off on all of these.
Go ahead.
Okay. To get to that question, I'm going to go back to a thing that I've sort of been beating my drum over. X-Men, the comic books, were around for 25, 30 years before X-Men the animated series sprang into existence. And when it came down to picking out, well, which X-Men out of these 30 years of material do you choose to go forward with, and the specific team that then became X-Men the animated series, there was serious gratification that was the team that moved on into the big budget films, that they did not, oh, well, we're going to reboot this, we're going to start fresh, we're going to go. No, they chose the same characters that we had chosen, and worked hard to crush a lot of story into a very little amount of time. With something like a 5-year series, you've got X amount of episodes that really allow you to come up with moments that can break your heart with Wolverine and with Logan and Jean, or and that's really hard to kind of convey. You've earned the goodwill of the audience by doing this over time. Tom, I think I saw that you were a Logan Storm person, a Logan Storm fan. That's me all over.
I believe
and to get to that point, it was like they earned it.
I remember in the comics specifically, like it was right after he got the adamantium, I think, ripped out of him, and he was becoming more feral, and I think that's when I remember him and Storm being a thing. But then it was accented even more when that episode happened, where I think it was the Age of Apocalypse. I'm trying to remember exactly. I just retweeted it.
What man's worth?
The exact episode it was, but
in the TV show, it was One Man's Worth, where there's an alternative future, and it's what would happen if Xavier were assassinated as a 20-year-old, and so they have to give up their love to save the world, which is a pretty heavy thing. And Wolverine says, "Hell no, I'm not going to do it," and she talks him into it.
And that's one of those things where, oh my God, it was right there in front of my eyes the whole time that these two could be a couple. And seeing the parallel universe where they're allowed to be a couple, it's like boom. That to me was a true tragic romance.
Yeah. And back to the movies, which I think it's been a mixed bag. I think they've done some incredibly cool stuff. Most of the casting's wonderful. When we wrote notes to the voice people looking for actors for our show
in 1992,
in February 1992, we wrote down, let's see, for Professor Xavier, could it be somebody that sounds like Patrick Stewart? Stuff like that, so spot on.
Because he was doing Star Trek.
He was doing Next Generation.
It's like.
And so yeah, no, somebody that's that good, and we just thought, oh well, that's just kind of a dream to get people. So we dreamed high, and I think they did a marvelous job. I don't think they've figured out quite how to use Storm very well in 6 or 7 movies.
You gotta love that beast though.
The Hank McCoy Hammer beast.
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, everybody, Kelsey Grammer.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's perfect. So yeah, there's been a mixture. Some of them have just really pleased us. I think sometimes we worked really, really hard with Marvel and with our friends that were fans to get the history right and get the powers right and get the personalities right. And sometimes in the movies they just kind of throw stuff in that our kids stand up in the theater and say, "Hey, wait a minute, Juggernaut's not Australian. What the hell are you doing?" There's some things that they've chosen to change or not or do differently than we would have been done in their place. But it's such a challenge to put together a $100 million movie, and you've got so many people. I mean, that's one of the tough things about doing TV shows. We've done dozens of TV shows, and 8 out of 10 of them, various creative people get involved that end up making it not what it could have been. And you don't have any control over that. You just, luck of the draw on X-Men, we all fought to keep it a certain way, and everybody ended up shaking hands saying, yeah, that's what we want to do, and it worked. But most of the time out here, things don't work out as well as you hope. And so the fact that some of the movies have really cool stuff in them, and so, that balances out the stuff that, they missed an opportunity, or they did this in a way different. In the book, I'm going to talk about Days of Future Past because the way Julia, I think it was Bob,
yes, and Marty Eisenberg,
the way we looked at the books, adjusted it for TV for what would then be like a 44-minute version for TV, and then what they did for the 120-minute version for the movies, and why we made our choices and the ones we think that didn't quite work as well in the movie. There's some incredibly cool stuff in the movie, but we ended up liking our choices better overall. So, and I mean, it was close, but you started with the books. I mean, that's a hard thing to. Each one is a different craft, and I don't know that I could write a decent comic book if my life depended on it, just because I've never done it. I've never proved it. And same thing happens for comic book writers. Some of them try to write TV, and they don't quite get the form. And same thing could be said for feature writers. Each of the 3, a feature movie writer possibly wouldn't know how to write a comic or a TV episode either. So each one has its challenges, and I give them credit for continuing to, bust their ass to make as good a movies as they can. And I try not to be too critical, even if they do stuff I wouldn't have done.
And Joe said that Grace Jones would have been his dream Storm for the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, she'd be great.
Our friend Dub too said that Wolverine shouldn't be 6 foot and so good looking, but our friend Sam, who is from Australia, says that there's nothing wrong with 6 foot good looking Australians. So there's some controversy over the choice.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. While we're talking about movies, TJ Dex, another follower of the show, he asked, there's rumors of Gambit, the solo movie, coming in and out of production. Is there a dream solo X-Men movie that you would have?
We were talking about that earlier, and a big challenge is coming up, picking a character that has the kind of conflict that Wolverine. If we're saying, okay, everyone here on X-Men is a mutant, okay, so that is something that happens. It's like going through puberty. This just happens to you, and this is how it ends up. But Wolverine was taken, and bad people did awful stuff to him. So he's not only is he fighting his own rage at being a person who's got this mutation, but he has a physical, legitimate group of people to be really pissed at for what they did to him. I don't know. I mean, I think any character could support a story, but as much as I think Storm is one of top, well, I said Beast, but for Storm to who you need to set up who she's going, what her conflict's going to be. And sometimes in the movies, they don't give it enough time to set that up.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the natural kind of conflict that just happened to be Wolverine's story.
And I thought about this a lot when I got the message, because my knee-jerk reaction was, gee, I don't know if I can think of anybody. I mean, much as I'm really looking forward to the Logan movie. I love the trailer. I just thought, oh, this is great. This could be the best one ever.
That song's so good for him.
Yeah. All the emotions coming through in that movie, the trailer. If the movie's half as good, it's going to be great. But I thought, really, I can't. What worked for me in the X-Men was how much was their interaction with each other, and imagining them one by themselves. Even the Logan movie the trailer wouldn't have been a third as good if Charles Xavier hadn't been there. I'm so aware of what they've meant to each other for me for 76 episodes, and then for all the movies, and for 50 years of the book, or 35 years of the books because it came later, that there's a resonance there between them. And so if you just took one of the characters, you'd have to build all that stuff that's going on. So to answer your question, versus imagine, think about the Avengers. They were all individual heroes that had individual stories, and they're just kind of thrown together, and they work okay, as a team, although they're kind of reluctant. And I thought Joss Whedon did an amazing job, especially in the first movie, getting them together and functioning for a short while before they all said screw you and all left and went back to being individuals. Well, I got to know all of them as individuals, and I got to know the X-Men as a family to start with. And so honestly, I can't imagine just one of them. It just would kind of have ruined it for me if it was just one of their stories. And so yeah, I can't do it. I don't have the imagination.
But if they do Gambit, I would go either Taylor. I'd go Taylor Kitsch or Channing Tatum. That works for me. Either one of those gentlemen would. Hey.
Yeah, we'd go see what they did with it.
Nice.
There was some comments about Storm. Our buddy